Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Firaxis live stream. My name is Pete Murray. I'm going to be your host today. We have a very exciting live stream to share with you today. We have some special guests. We're going to talk about the Shawnee and how they are in Civilization VII. We've got some new gameplay to share with you, and I am joined today by Civilization VII's lead historian, Andrew Johnson. Andrew, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Pete.
It's exciting to be here, but we have some very special guests visiting us from Meier, Oklahoma. We have Karl Meyer from the Shawnee Language Center, a technical specialist with them, and Chief of the Shawnee, Chief Ben Barnes. Thank you both so much for coming out. Hato Chief, Hato Ben, or Hato Karl. See, I told you this. How are you guys today?
Good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Very excited.
And joining us is Civilization VII's creative director, Ed Beach. He's going to be walking us through the gameplay today. Ed, how are you?
I'm great.
Excellent. Well, I think the best way that we could kick off the stream today is by showing you guys the first look for Tecumseh. So we're going to go ahead and jump into that.
You're okay.
Tecumseh was a Shawnee chief who spread a message of unity and resistance among the indigenous peoples of the Americas. He was a major anti-colonial leader during the United States' early westward expansion. A hero to many, Tecumseh favors diplomacy with leaders who support, rather than suppress, independent powers. Friendly relations with those independents give some helpful bonuses towards settlement yields, and incredible military power, should the need arise. Tecumseh's historical Shawnee stand out among the new civilizations in Civ VII. The Shawnee people built flourishing, adaptable societies around rivers, making them an excellent exploration age pairing. So keep an eye out for rivers when establishing your next settlement. Or choose a different path all your own. But whatever you build, remember to build something you believe in.
All right. So that was a very fun look at Tecumseh, but Chief Barnes, tell us who are the Shawnee and how are you as a people?
Pete, thank you. First, I'm very excited that you've invited us to be in your studio today. Working with you guys these last few years has been just really exciting. And I know for Karl, the rest of the language team, we've been really excited about this. So for those that don't know who the Shawnee are, our tribe, we have citizens across 50 states. We're a government, and so we're one of 3 Shawnee governments. And so historically, our people occupied about more than 20 eastern states. One of the first Indian agents here in the United States, he described the Shawnee as the greatest travelers of America. So for a lot of folks in the eastern half of the United States, the Tecumseh and the Shawnee are fairly well known. And across North America, I think Tecumseh is even more so well known because of his involvement in the War of 1812. Our Canadian brothers and sisters know more about him than we do. They don't really teach the War of 1812 very much in U.S. schools. But I think for indigenous peoples all over the world, Tecumseh is one of those role models that embodies unity and coming together. And so it's reflected in the values that your team's put together for his leadership abilities. And we're really excited. But what I think I would like to ask you and your team, particularly Andrew, is why did you guys choose Tecumseh and the Shawnee for this particular title?
Yeah, when we were first trying to figure out who we might include in Civ VII, we got a list of 50 to 100 different historical figures and tried to really piece out where was a good angle, where was a good story that could be told with each one of these figures, and looking at different regions of the world. In North America, Tecumseh was one of the names that immediately comes to mind when you think about indigenous North American leaders. And then the story, too, seemed to fit really well within our exploration age, in that sense of a new form of government, a new configuration, a new coming together of disparate peoples that isn't the same thing as colonial or imperial expansion, but is rather a more diplomatic partnership. And as well, I found the story of Tenskwatawa also compelling too, in that this was a religious movement as well as a political movement. There's two sides of the same coin. So I thought that was really compelling, and I think we all thought that was a really compelling story. It was a matter of then reaching out and trying to get partnership and collaboration with the owners of the culture.
And I think one of the exciting parts is with that outreach, we've got 4 of the people who are on that first call here. So, so how was that initial call, the outreach with Chief Barnes and Karl?
Right. So we got on the call, and I'm sweating bullets because I don't really know how this is going to pan out. I don't know whether or not we're going to get an earful of your game is Eurocentric or something like this. But the first thing that Chief said to me was, okay, so I guess this isn't about XCOM, is it? And that's when I knew that, hey, no, we're having a conversation with gamers, with people who understand what Civ is, what it's going for, and what it could be too. And that's really the ideal point, is where could we take this?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was a sudden sharing of a vision in that way. And I was so relieved after that first sentence. I was so excited and relieved, and it's been great thus far.
So, Chief, what has this relationship meant to you and to the Shawnee?
Well, I remember getting the email, and I can remember immediately contacted Carl, and I said, hey, these folks want to talk to us. And he and I are both gamers. I'm a gamer from so far back that my first gaming experience was I was going to be eaten by a grue. So for us, when we saw this, we knew that this was an opportunity for representation, that it's not often that video game publishers and companies, designers, come to Tribal Nation and want to be collaborative partners. And we knew that we could do this right if we had meaningful dialogue. And we had plenty of time. We had 3.5, maybe almost 4 years, maybe, where we worked together. And so we're really excited because representation in these games are important. Seeing ourselves reflected, not just in the way that the actors look, but it's also having the language and the culture and seeing that reflected in the game. And it's exciting. I know a lot of our citizens are really, really excited for this game to come out.
When you guys came out and met with us, I had more elderly people that have never played a video game in their life come up and say they're going to play this video game because of the partnership and Tecumseh being in it. My excitement is just, it knows no ends. I got to say, when Civ V came out, you guys were teasing one of the next Civs to come out, and you were like, oh, it's going to be a Native American Civ. Oh, it's going to start with an S. And I was on the edge of my seat just waiting. Are the Shawnee going to be in this? Are the Shawnee going to be in this? And then it came out, it was the Shoshone. And if you would have told me then that I would be working with your guys' team on the Shawnee aspect in 7, I would have never believed you. And it's once in a lifetime.
Well, we've been very grateful for the partnership with you guys. We're really grateful for the opportunity to work with you, and this has been a lot of fun. And so what's exciting about this stream today is we get to share the work that you all have put together in creating this this relationship for this game. So this is really cool. Chief Barnes, I know the Shawnee language is especially important for you. So when we see Tecumseh and we hear him speaking Shawnee, I know that goes right to the heart of things that are important to you as the chief.
Pete, it's not just the language, also we had a community involvement, so there's even our music and songs are incorporated into it. And from the very get-go, we involved our community in this project. We couldn't have done it without that community. We had support from Eastern Shawnee citizens, as well as the former governor, the former governor of the absentee Shawnee tribe was our language consultant. Neowant, George Blanchard. We couldn't have done it without you, George. And the entire language team, Joel, Anastasia. I'm going to miss some people, I'm sure.
Bree
Alexander.
Our THIPO department was actually hugely helpful. Our historic preservation department, they actually helped us come up with all the names for the rivers and the towns and whatnot.
They did a lot of the research, also the archaeological research on providing some of the structure design and how Fort Ancient villages looked in that era. And so a lot of background, and I think we're going to see some of that today. And I'm really excited to share this with gamers back home and around the globe.
So we have a short video clip of actually some of the music being recorded as well too. So I will ask our team if they can put that up for us. So who are our musicians?
So on the left, that was Joel Barnes, my little brother. My big brother, my first cousin, Brett Barnes, is in the middle. And then on the right is our nephew, Trenton Stand. But Brett is an Eastern Shawnee citizen. Trenton is a Shawnee and Quapaw citizen. And Joel, of course, he's a Shawnee citizen.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things I've enjoyed the most is as we've been together and as we've been listening to the game, you sing along with the soundtrack every time it comes up.
Man, I can't help it. It's just so it's gorgeous.
It's
the way
so good.
the way it's been mixed. It's absolutely wonderful to hear.
Well, I think that's part of what's fun about doing a Civilization game is being able to put elements like the music and the language into that. So, Andrew, you've had a lot of experience with that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in my other lives, I've been an educator, and I've really want people to get out of a game or out of any sort of media experience, though, is to being able to think about things in different ways, and hearing another language really is a glimpse into another world, into another way of poetry, another way of thinking, another way of expressing yourself. And there's nothing better than learning a new language, allowing your brain to move between worlds. I think that's what I love as an anthropologist myself, and it's what I love to see taste of here in Civilization too.
One of my favorite parts of the story is that the voice actor who voices Tecumseh is a member of the Shawnee Nation. And Karl, tell the story about Dylan Dean interviewing for or auditioning for the role of Tecumseh.
So Dylan Dean, one of our citizens, we kept the secrecy of this project pretty close to the chest, and so we never told Dylan who we were asking him to audition for. And so he went and did his audition, and then he didn't know he was auditioning for Tecumseh until he got the call that said he got the part. And I guess he just ran around the house celebrating that he was both in the game and Tecumseh. So that was pretty amazing.
So a couple weeks ago, Andrew Fredrickson, the lead producer on Civ 7, brought a build of the game out, and we actually have a clip of Dylan sitting down to play as Tecumseh. Let's roll that real quick.
Pretty great.
Oh, yeah.
Have the voice actor playing Tecumseh, getting to play Tecumseh in the game, which was a really, really cool moment for us. So,
And he had a blast. He sat down for about 15, 20 minutes and played the game and really had a blast.
yeah.
So.
Well, so we should jump in and play a little bit of the game too. This will give us a chance to show off some of the details of what we're going to talk about as well too. So Ed, I'm going to turn it over to you. So we have some new Exploration Age gameplay to share, but we're going to have more Exploration Age gameplay in a future live stream as well too. So we've got plenty more details to come on that.
Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to show you how an age starts, specifically an age after the very first stage in the game, where we go through the process that we call an advanced start. And Civilization games have had advanced starts before, but we have a more elaborate system than we normally do to present you into an advanced start and to get your civilization up and going. So we're going to look at that in just a second, but before we do, let's quickly review some of the abilities that Tecumseh and the Shawnee bring to a player. There's some tricky words to pronounce here, so I'm going to have Karl help me with the leader ability.
Absolutely. We've got Nichaki Koulakwe.
Which is reflective of Tecumseh's ability to unite tribes and peoples together.
It actually means something of all of our relations.
Which is entirely appropriate, and you can see that combat strength is going to build with the more city-state partners that Tecumseh has been able to recruit to his banner, and it's also going to increase the productivity in terms of food and production of the settlements. Now the other thing we want to focus on is the Shawnee's unique ability. Again, I'll let Karl pronounce that for us.
We've got Nepaki Thaki, we've got Kispako Nenato, and we've got Ho Chepkilini.
Okay, and the Nepaki Thaki is their ability to settle near rivers and be very productive in those types of situations. Now, the Shawnee homeland that we represent in the game in terms of where we've chosen their capital, you'll see in a minute, it is Chillicothe, which is a town in Ohio. And both Jason, who's going to be on the stream later, and I were actually born in Ohio, so we have a little bit of Ohio heritage on the
awesome.
development team. But It is the Ohio River Valley that was particularly important to the Shawnee, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And actually, the Chillicothe was historically our capital city, basically.
So what we do to reflect that in the game through this unique ability is whenever they settle next to a navigable river, and the Ohio was a very wide navigable river, at least all the way up to Pittsburgh and beyond, that is a river that you want to establish your cities along. If you can also get some of your towns nearby navigable rivers, that's even a bonus. But you want to make sure that your cities are established there, because otherwise you're going to take the penalty to food output that we list here. So let's go ahead and look at the map. And the way an advanced start works is you are given a swath of the Civ map. You don't know what the rest of the map looks like. This is just your homeland. Everything else is covered in our fog of war. And you have to decide, given this piece of terrain that I've inherited, what's the best way for me to configure my initial civilization. Now we have this button here called Create Advanced Start. And when you click on that, you will see that you have a number of abilities that you can select from. And we have 7 points that we're going to be able to spend on those abilities. This is the wildcard points. When you're playing through an age transition and you played a previous age, you might have been very good at the economic side of the game or the military side of the game. So then you will accumulate points in some special area. But in these advanced starts, you're jumping into the game right during the exploration age. And so the points you gain are wild card ones that you can spend in any area to set yourself up.
Absolutely. When I played the game a little bit, this advanced start was absolutely a blast to play through. So.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I treat it very differently depending upon what type of game I'm playing. If I'm playing a single player game, I'm like, well, I'm pretty confident that nobody's going to give me a lot of trouble militarily, so I'll set up a really strong, I'll spend all my points on economic things.
Yep.
But when our design team is playing in-house and we're playing multiplayer, I have some other considerations to think about. And so some of these, Carl's in those games sometimes. And not this Carl, but our Carl Berrien. And so some of these red legacies that I can choose that give me military power might be a lot more appealing to me in those particular situations. You'll also notice that some of them have a 2 symbol next to them. So if I want to place a city, that's going to take 2 of my 7 advanced start points.
Absolutely.
So that's more expensive. And we've had a lot of debate back and forth on the design team. You know, what's better? You can upgrade a town to a city by just spending money after you have it on the map. And everyone's like, should I take a town card and then just upgrade it? That's giving me a city anyways? Why should I ever spend 2 in the city? But the way that the design team has balanced this out, if you put a city down, it gets a lot of free buildings around it. And you get some of the better buildings from the previous age, the libraries and academies and things like that, get pre-placed for you. If you put a town down, it has a lot fewer of those buildings. And so
a little bit more rural.
Yeah, so if you know you want a city, I always find it's best to just put a city in right away.
I think when I played, I went with a city and a town.
Right, and so what we're going to do is we're going to look at this map and try to decide how many cities and towns we want first. So we can click the View Map button and go back and look at it. And the really beautiful thing about this start is there is a second wide navigable river down here that we can settle next to.
Now, Ed, can I interrupt you for a second? I'd just like to point out that all these rivers on this map are all Shawnee names. And I think that, as somebody that works in the language department, is absolutely amazing. I love it.
So this is the system that we first put in Civ VI with the Gathering Storm expansion, where we started naming geographical features. We named volcanoes. We even named storms after some citizens of the nation that the storm may have arisen in. But one of the really fun things was naming rivers, and it's set up so whichever player in the game, the same way that Civ 6 works, whichever player in the game discovers the river, that culture gets to apply one of their names to that river with a little bit of randomization.
Yeah, amazing.
And so that's, we love the fact that that's coming through here.
So we got a question for Chief Barnes. So White and Nerdy TV would like to know, what's your favorite part of the new Shawnee Civ? Is it unique abilities? Is it unique units? Is it the tile improvements?
You know, I have to say it's probably the language and the music. seeing that featured in the game,
Yep.
it's really, really impressive. The work, there was so much work that went into it. We have an archaeologist on staff at the Tribal Nation, and seeing what they were able to provide you guys so we get the models right, it's too much to just put one finger on.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm looking for most is the big land party whenever this rolls out that we're going to have back home.
Yeah. So we got another question from Robert Lay. Why was Serpent Mound chosen as the Shawnee's associated wonder?
Oh, that's because the age of the Serpent Mound and its geography, in the time period that the best archaeology suggests, puts it in a Fort Ancient context in the late 1200 AD, 1200 CE, 1300 CE, and given that it's on the Ohio River, that the most likely descendant community is the Shawnee people that built that site.
Yeah.
That's actually my favorite part of what's in there is Serpent Mound.
Well, we'll get to see that in our save later on. So, Blondino Sauce would like to know, question for the Shawnee guys, did you have any input on the actual gameplay mechanics or the abilities of the Shawnee in-game?
Actually, yeah, I actually wrote up a list of possible abilities right off the bat and headed it over to the Firaxis guys, and they took a look at it, and we went back and forth several times and kind of worked out a few of the abilities. So,
And I think because we were Civ players, it gave us that ability to understand what we were trying to do and what we thought we might be able to do.
absolutely, we were already speaking the same language with you guys, so to speak, as far as game mechanics, and I think it just helped us kind of gel and actually get involved pretty.
And we were comfortable right
Yeah.
off the bat. I mean, that first Zoom call, you
Yeah.
know,
It was
you
so good.
obviously knew what Civilization was. You knew enough about Firaxis products to talk XCOM as well with us. So we were like, you know, we shouldn't be making the initial suggestions. Let's take it from
Yeah. And
you all. And
that meant a lot to me personally, so thank you guys. So.
no problem. It was great for us.
That's cool. All right, so Ed, where are we going to go from here?
So what we're going to do is, looking at this setup, we're going to try to decide how many towns and cities we think we are going to go out of those 7 points that we get to spend. I absolutely want to put a city right down here on the second navigable river.
Mm-hmm.
And then in general, you always want to settle towns along rivers if possible for the fresh water that they have. It's a similar system to what we had in Civ VI, but now it's a happiness penalty that you take if you don't have fresh water. So I think to the west of Chillicothe, along the river we have up here, is going to be a great place for another town. And then I think it's we're going to probably have to squeeze the last one in, but I think going with 2 towns would be a great way to go. So let's go back to our advanced start options, and we will choose to place a city and then 2 towns. We'll click on it twice, and I clicked on it 3 times. Okay. So we will go ahead, and the other interesting thing I wanted to point out about towns is sometimes you may get a little overzealous and choose too many towns you want, and you get to placing them, you're trying to figure out what to do. Another option when you have this is you can say, no, actually, I want a settler right from the beginning. And if you click on an extra town and decide not to place it, you get a settler who can immediately move out on turn 1.
So you don't have to spend all your gold on him.
Yes, so you don't have to spend all your gold on him. So that's an interesting way to do it as well. So let me go ahead and we also have to decide what we're going to do with our last few points here. We can get gold. So yes, you could have bought a settler as well. You can gain some free technologies, some free civics. We're not going to really talk a lot about the rest of the Exploration Age gameplay today. So there are cases where maybe cartography could be really useful, and we'll tease that right now, but we're not going to explain why until the next live stream. But that is actually one of my favorite choices. So let's go ahead and choose that we want to have an army. It's going to cost us 2 points if we want a full 4-unit cavalry army. So the less expensive way to go might be to go to take an infantry army and then give us some gold for a flexible
I think that's a good
way to go.
Gold is always a good option in Civ.
So I think what we're going to end up doing here is confirm these legacies. People might wonder what this custom is here, but what the Firaxis design team has done is set up some sort of presets, factory presets of configurations. If you want to get into a game very quickly, you can say, I want the economic set or whatever. But I always like to play with a custom set. It's a fun part of the game is to do this advanced setup. So if we confirm those, then the next thing we have to do is place our settlements. And we know we wanted to put our city down here next to the other navigable river.
What is the name of
We
that
get
river?
the settler lens, so we can see where the fresh water is with the green.
You ask for what reason I stay on the Green
And
Lantern.
we actually got
I
lucky
smile,
enough to settle close enough
do
to a
we
natural
dance?
wonder that we have revealed that as well.
Gwendolyn doing an excellent job on the narration.
See, that's just across river from our
Yeah.
new settlement. And now we'll continue and place some towns. And I think we're going to put the one to the west that I was talking about here along this other river.
Right by the Costco, the pigs.
And do that. And then we have another river site just south of Chillicothe. And then we could squeeze one more town in here, or I could leave this as a settler that we can move out across the map.
I like the settler idea.
So I'm going to go ahead and finish placement early and take the settler here. And it reminds me that I'll get it as the settler unit. And that's sort of the end of our advanced start process. So that was sort of the initial snippet of gameplay. If you start a modern game, you go through a similar situation, but you're getting ready for the modern age at that point in time. We can see that our towns and cities have been pre-populated with buildings from the prior ages, and we're ready to roll.
All right.
Awesome.
So are we going to roll into a later save then?
We can do that whenever we're ready.
Actually, I got a question before we go in. The General Z would like to know, for you, Chief Barnes, what was the most important thing for this game to get correct about Shawnee culture?
You know,
That's a big
the
one.
collaboration, I think, is the most important thing. Without those conversations, we couldn't have gotten the community buy-in. And so having a really honest dialogue and making sure that people were listening to what we had to say, that was the most important thing. And it's been, the relationship with Firaxis has been one that's been really enjoyable and really getting the job done in the way that is not just admirable, but I hope other video game publishers decide to follow that same direction.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to work with you.
Yeah, it
So-
really has. That means a lot to hear.
Good. You did a good job. Yeah. It was wonderful to be able to come out and show the game in progress at your annual meeting. It was really gratifying to see people's responses to it. You know, Carl, you were talking about people saying, I'm so excited about this game. I think one of the things that's so, you know, you want to do a good job, and really the validation comes from the people that you work with for that. So thank you so much for that. That was a really great opportunity.
Well, and it was great having you guys out. So
And you fed us all weekend long. Like, everybody kept putting food in our hands, and it was all good. It was,
one of the oldest Shawnee traditions: if you come to our house, we're not going to let you leave hungry.
the first night we were out there, and we had the ribbon cutting at the Language Center, and everybody's like, "Are you kind of out to dinner in the stomp dance? We have meat, gravy, and fry bread." And Andrew Johnson goes, "I like all four of them."
Andrew Frederickson.
Andrew Frederickson says, "I like all four of those words."
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of Johnsons, Andrews and Johnsons, we're going to swap Andrew out in a moment. We're going to bring in art director Jason Johnson, who's going to talk on this next part. So Ed, how are we looking in our game right now?
We are going to switch to our game where we're going to jump about 60 turns ahead.
Okay.
I'm going to once again thank Sean Wilson from our QA department for setting up the saves for the live stream. And we will see how he has taken this fledgling Shawnee Nation that we just set up before. He didn't put the cities in exactly the same place I did, but we have
That's
the
all right.
same basic setup, and we'll see how it's progressed over those 60 turns.
All right.
We've got this great layer painting that Jason Johnson can talk about in just a second. That is your loading screen when you go into a game playing as the Shawnee, with Tecumseh featured on the right-hand side of the screen. We can get a good look at the different abilities on this screen as well. A lot of the abilities of the Shawnee are based around the resources out there on the map. and sort of their knowledge of the land and where commodities can be obtained and so forth. So the unique infantry unit, the
Kispako Nenato.
thank you, Carl, is gains combat strength. The more empire level resources, these are resources that help everyone in your nation that don't have to be assigned to a specific settlement. Those make that infantry stronger. We will also see when we get to the council fire
Yep. Mowaskoe Skote.
that those unique improvements that can be placed around the outskirts of the towns and cities, that those also gain power when they are next to resource.
All right. So here we are.
Also, I'd like to just jump in real fast. I got a little anecdote. That Forbidden City right there, going to the Forbidden City in real life was on my bucket list for a very long time because it's long held been my favorite wonder in civilization. And I got to go a few years ago and actually see it in real life. And it was, that meant a lot to me just because of civilization.
We did not know that when we set up the save and happened to
I
put
know,
the
yeah,
Forbidden City
yeah.
right outside the Chillicothe capital.
Well, here we hear the soundtrack as well too.
Yeah.
So
Ben, get to sing it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Serpent Mound, you sit in the upper.
Yeah,
What
zoom
is
in on
that?
Serpent Mound. Chad has been asking us to see Serpent Mound. So, Carl, when you came out a few months ago, you had said as your personal victory condition was building Serpent Mound.
Yeah,
Is
yeah, I
that-
got to play about an hour of the game, and it accumulated in me building Serpent Mound, and I stood in victory. Yeah!
So, joining us in the stream now is Jason Johnson, the art director for Civ VII. So, JJ, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Pete.
So, this looks really cool. Talk about how you guys came together to decide what the look of the Shawnee civilization was going to be.
It was just, as stated before, just this collaborative effort between the art department and our lead concept artist, Ryan Andrade, and the Shawnee. Every piece of art we did, we sent it to them, and we had feedback sessions as if they were part of the design team here. And this unique improvement here, Carl, what was the name of it again?
The council fire?
Yes.
Now you asked me, and I... Skote is the fire part. There, thank you. Mowaskoe Skote.
There you go. That was a big challenge for us. We really wanted to get that one right. We didn't have lots of information on what it would be, so we went back and forth and we decided a longhouse would be really representative of a place where they could kind of meet in council, and then do this large fire platform around. It was incredible work with the Shawnee, being that they are civilization fans. They know we've got to kind of pull and push sometimes with some of the architecture and buildings. But here's the Shawnee Bank, which I believe is one of the first. Is that the bank?
That's
the palace.
Oh, that's the palace.
So we've got some slides that we'll jump to in a minute, so we can walk through some of these specific buildings and talk a little bit about how you guys work together. But actually, let's go ahead. So, Carl, I think you got the clicker for that.
Yeah.
So we can jump to those slides. We can share that as well.
I will
too.
say I really appreciated our collaboration with how the buildings looked, and then when Chief made the call that it was okay for us to get a little bit more elaborate and less historical, I thought that was a great call, and I think it turned out great. The whole city tile set.
So we've got some specifics to go through with this. So let's go to the next one. So, what's this a painting of, JJ?
This is a painting of around the area of Chillicothe. I'm from Ohio. We call the area the Old Man's Cave, and there's a lot of gorges, and it's this really neat, unique place in Ohio that most of Ohio doesn't look like this. But it was important to the Shawnee, and this is here is Tecumseh, and basically that area of the country in Ohio.
Cool. And this is an example of the kind of work your archaeology department was able to provide with us. What would the structures have looked like? And tell us a little bit about what it is that we're looking at here. Carl or Chief, either of you guys can take that. if you
Were
want.
these were, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, was it Sugarloaf buildings? Was that what they're kind of called?
Kind of a sugarloaf-shaped longhouse.
Yeah,
And wigwams.
Yeah, and we went back and forth with several of the decisions on how the houses would look in the wigwam, the wikiwa, what we call it.
And the archaeology department, our cultural preservation office, they were able to help, inform, because in these Fort Ancient places where Shawnees lived for hundreds and hundreds of years prior to the arrival of Europeans, You can see the post holes, those marks still in the ground to this day when you use the right kind of equipment. So capturing that thematically with these post-type construction methods, that was really important to us, and you guys did a great job, JJ.
And what's cool is if we jump to the university, JJ, you can talk about how you can take the language of the construction and extend it to there was no Shawnee University, but if there were one, it might look like this kind of thing.
Exactly, and one of the things I wanted to do with this one particularly is when we first started working with the Shawnee, we saw this wonderful picture of their cultural center with this hearth outside and this amazing star pattern. So I kind of wanted to tie the two together and put that with the university, so it was like this center of education and this kind of tie-in, and it's the only place we use the star pattern with any of the Shawnee buildings. We do use the hearth in other places too, but we wanted this kind of one-to-one that what's there now, and it kind of made sense that this would be what it could have been over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. And then here we have a better picture of the Mowasco Scote, the council fire. And then again, here's the university and an example of our arbor out front.
And here's two pretty cool buildings.
Yeah, the one on the left here is the Shawnee Bank. And this was one of the first buildings we started working with them on.
It might have been the first one.
I think it may have been, and we were just kind of deciding what are the things the Shawnee may have had to signify that they had a bank if they had a bank. So we have some corn and some other things, and then we have this wampum across the top. And one of our environment artists, she made this amazing wampum generator that we can she can put in any pattern, do sizes, scaling, and we just have this ability to put all kinds of wampum patterns on things. And
that's so cool.
Went back and forth on the color with you guys and make sure we got that nailed just right as well too.
And I really love because most of your banks, if I'm not mistaken, have a coin on the top. I love that we've replicated the circle pattern there on the top. That's really great. And I don't know what the building on the right is.
That's our market, I believe.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And then one of the other things when we were talking with the Shawnee and doing this building design was, in a lot of our buildings we have very manicured little garden grounds and statues, and I was talking to Carl and Chief Barnes, what would the Shawnee have done to kind of decorate their lands? And they basically said, make it as natural for the animals to come into the settlement more and live with them. So I wanted to make sure we had all the more natural kind of ground decorations in all the Shawnee buildings.
Yeah, absolutely, and it hits.
There's a lot of produce in that market too.
Yeah,
and a lot of really good Native American produce too. So there's pumpkins and there's squash and there's corn and there's
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, jump us up one because I think we're going to start to get into the concepting around Tecumseh.
Yeah, this is our very first iteration on the left there, before that Mike Tassi had done when we started working with the Tecumseh concept. And we sent it out to Chief Barnes and Carl and had a wonderful conversation. And after our meeting, Carl had sent us some wonderful historic images of Shawnee that we could then really kind of nail down and get the anatomy exactly correct and put back in to the final.
And I think this just turned out awesome.
I just love this model.
Yeah.
We've actually got those pictures as well too. So these are the ones that you sent us of. These are
a few of them. I think there's about 50 pictures. But
I think
here's a collection.
It's a subset of them.
And one thing I love about these, one of our biggest problems in Indian country in modern day is that we have a problem with invisibility. Just a lot of our issues aren't seen at a big enough scale. And I like these pictures because they represent us as a contemporary people, and you see that in the way they dress and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Here's more of the concept. This was another one of the very early concepts, and Mike Tassi did an awesome job on these. It's so good.
He was honored. He loved working on this one, and yeah, we had multiple face paints we were going with, and opted for the one we decided on just for readability in the eyes and all those kind of things. We went back and forth on. Yeah.
I think that's it for our slides.
So we're going to pop up the website for the tribe as well too, so people can go and they can find out more from you, about you, by going to the website for the Shawnee tribe. So
we have links there to all our programs we work on and our language program, our language SLIP. It's called SLIP. It's our Shawnee Language Immersion Program. You can find links there on the website.
And there's information about the government and the governmental body and how we are as even our codes of laws are linked within our government.
Yeah.
So we got a great question from Esteban Vidal, which is, what are some other ways one could get to know or experience the Shawnee culture if you're not a part of the tribe?
So that's a very good question.
I'll take a first stab at that.
Yeah.
So Pete and Andrew came back from their weekend in Oklahoma and brought back a card game that Karl had designed. I played this with my family 2 nights ago. Learned enough about pronouncing some of the trickier consonants in the Shawnee language that I haven't totally stumbled, I hope, over
Yeah, no, you've done great.
Chillicothe.
Yeah.
And it's basically it's a form of Uno with a few special rules, and you need to pronounce each color and number as you're playing the card, which gets quite tricky after a while. But we had a great time with it.
Yeah. Ed, can you show that to the camera again?
Yes.
And it's called Ta Kewaki, which in Shawnee means not yet. Like, oh, I've got one more, not yet.
So that's what you yell when you're about to go out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you don't yell that, then
Somebody
you
else
take
can.
the 4-card penalty. And so you want to make sure you remember Ta Kiwaki.
Yes, exactly.
Chief Barnes, how else could people experience
We also have a cultural center located in Miami, Oklahoma that sits right off the interstate. And so folks that are traveling can stop by our cultural center and come and learn about us as a contemporary people. Right now we have an exhibit from artist Gibson Bird. He's a contemporary Shawnee artist, and most of them are landscapes and character studies. But they are some amazing paintings, and we welcome anybody to come by to the cultural center and learn more about us.
Great. So Shizuri asks, any recommended books to find out more about the Shawnee that you might recommend?
Absolutely. We have a wonderful human being we've been working with for quite a while named Stephen Warren. He's a professor out of Indiana?
Iowa.
Iowa.
University of Iowa.
University of Iowa. And he's written a couple books, Shawnees and Their Neighbors, and the world the Shawnee built. And those are both excellent resources to learn more about the Shawnee. He's the first historian that came to us and wanted to tell the story from our point of view.
And I'll do the shameless plug. Steve and I edited a book called Replanting Cultures, and that book, the whole book, is a case study on how to collaborate with tribal nations. It follows the philosophy of nothing about us without us. So for readers that want to find that book, look for that. The edited volume is by Dr. Stephen Warren and myself, and it's called Replanting Cultures.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you very much. So Ed, do you want to take us back into the game, and how would you potentially play us out here? Karl can't wait.
So, without telling a lot about what the legacy paths and objectives that we're going for in the age, I'm going to talk at least a little bit about the military forces that have been assembled to defend our Shawnee Nation. So we can see that military units, when they're stacked on top of cities, we only show the unit icon, and so you have to click on them and get them to move out before you can see them. But we can see some of our infantry. This is the unique Shawnee infantry. We also can see some really interesting work by our unit teams in reinterpreting standard civilization units for a specific culture. So I'm going to click on the knight here, and we're going to move the knight forward. And we notice that it's not a typical European knight in shining armor. It is actually a representative of a really strong exploration age cavalry unit, Shawnee style, and it's fantastic to look at. And we also have our ranged unit here and our army commander. And so let's debut the army commander for the Shawnee. And they will also be there to lead our forces. And so we can get a good sense of how, with the new system that JJ's art team has assembled, they're able to take any of these units, assemble them from parts, and really dive in onto the cultural details.
Absolutely, and if you zoom in on them, you'll see different variations between their models, their animations, just to always keep it interesting when you're playing the game.
They look great.
And then you can see really the population buildings in the city built out as well too. Obviously things like walls, those have a specific gameplay effect and you want them to be represented in that. But you can also see our population buildings, our Shawnee style population buildings.
This is the city hall, which is a smaller version of your central palace in your capital city. And we can see the university we've been talking about. That is underway. We're going to get that online very soon. In fact, if we advance one turn, we will be able to see that. So let's go ahead.
I have a question you might not be able to answer. What is the icon of Tecumseh's face to the left of the city name represent?
There's our university. The icon to the left.
Of the city name?
Oh, okay. So when we look at our empire, we're going to have some settlements that are full cities. They have a build queue and you schedule the production like you normally do in a Civ game. And then in Civ VII, you have smaller settlements that are called towns that extract all the resources from the area. They can still have farms and mines and other improvements around them, but all of the output of those towns is fed to your cities so that it's a way to, in Civ 6 it could get really overwhelming when you had 16 cities and you're like, wow, well, I can't remember which one
Especially if
is
you leave your
producing
save for a few days.
what. Yeah, if you haven't come back to the save for a while. And so this is a great way to simplify that. So the easy way to tell a town from a city is just whether or not the leader portrait is on the end of the city banner.
So we have Ewolf 1850 is watching on Steam from Shawnee, Kansas. And he says, thank you guys for coming on the stream today.
Well,
Awesome.
Thank you for reaching out.
We were just in Shawnee, Kansas just the other day. He was actually in Lenexa, next door to.
And there's actually a road not too far from our studio called Shawnee Road, and we've been debating over the last couple of days whether or not that's a contraction or an anglicization of Shawnee.
Yeah, Shawnee. So.
Yeah. All right. So Ed, how would you take the Shawnee for a victory in Exploration Age without tipping your hand too hard? What are you going to lean in on?
So they have a unique missionary, and their missionary ignores movement penalties from rivers, is able to get around. There are, just like in all the ages, there are 4 legacy paths that you're pursuing during exploration to try to push yourself forward in the game: military science, culture, and economic. The culture one is the one that's most closely tied to religion, but we do have a secondary path of those 4 that also benefits from strong religious gameplay.
Okay.
So I think, the missionaries representing spreading the Shawnee culture and language and everything else that we've been talking about and belief system across the map, that's absolutely a strong way to play the Shawnee. But I do think the other thing we want to tease is maybe the Shawnee's historical prowess wasn't as a naval power, but they certainly were based on rivers. With the rivers that we have here, these navigable rivers, that lets you get out to the sea. And our exploration age has a lot of gameplay revolving around getting to the other half of the world, experience the other half of the world, seeing what the full set of cultures are within your Civ world. So if you do a great job of that and go out and explore the world, that's going to help you on 2 of those 4 legacy paths. And what I really am excited is that we have brought naval gameplay to a level that it's never been at in a Civilization game before. During some of these Exploration Age matches with the design team where we're going at each other in multiplayer, there have been some enormous naval battles, like 4 or 5 times the size of any naval battle I've ever seen in a Civilization game before.
Wow.
So the naval gameplay has taken off and gone to a new level,
That's exciting.
and that's really exciting to see.
Yeah, that's super exciting.
All right. Well, I also want to remind people that I believe the Shawnee gameplay guide is up on the website now as well too, so you can go ahead and you can check that out for some more information about.
Sup,
how that
Kahi?
plays. Yeah. Well, I want to thank Ed Beach for coming out and walking us through some of the gameplay today. I want to thank Jason Johnson for coming and talking about the art and building this relationship with the Shawnee. But I want to give a special thanks to Karl Meyer and Chief Benjamin Barnes from the Shawnee Nation for being such fantastic partners and coming with us to be with us on the stream today.
Yahweh, Pete.
Thank
Yahweh.
you.
No, it's
good to
our
be here.
pleasure. So we've got some dev diaries coming up as well too. Keep an eye out for them in the next couple of days. They will be live now, apparently. So that's awesome to hear. They'll be out for leaders in Civs and how we go about putting those in the game. So see a little bit more about some of the process that we started today. If you're not already following us on social media, please do so. It's at Civilization or at CivGame in a variety of different places. Go to our website, civilization.com. And we're going to drop the thank you very much. We're going to remind everybody, if you get the opportunity, please do go to the Shawnee website, check it out. learn more about them, and we're honored to be able to work with them today. But for us here at Firaxis Games, my name is Pete Murray. I've been your host today. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.
Salanoki ke no le poa.